Hold up. In the last days, the most important thing for you to do is pay attention. Discern what you're dealing with. Get your house in order, your spirit in order to deal with the things that are going to unfold in the last days. Miss Celestial back with another prophetic message. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. See y'all at the end.
And so the prophecy is called The Red Gloves, a story of those who are crushed in spirit. I had this dream September 19, 2025. I dreamt that there was a most beautiful little girl in a family that had 4 children. I didn't see all the children gathered together at once, except at certain points later in the dream. What I was working with was I would occasionally see the older brother excitedly lacing up his boots to go outside and stomp in the snow. What I would occasionally see is the younger brother, not even the full body, maybe just a young boy putting on a coat. You know how they used to wear those kind of Hansel and Gretel coats in the old days? Something like that, but not as far back as that far back, the Brothers Grimm. But I would see a child putting on a pea coat and excitedly wrapping thread around a spool in preparation to go outside and fly his kite. And so just by putting scenes like this in front of me, I was able to build a picture in the beginning of the dream that there are 4 distinct children in this family. There's an older brother, a younger brother, an older sister, and a younger sister. So just a perfect little matchup of 4 kids. And most of the kids in this family looked to be about the same skin tone as me. I didn't see any of them that were exceptionally light, and I didn't see any of them that were exceptionally dark. But at the same time, the understanding was in my heart that these are mixed race children. Mixed race comes in so many different forms, whereby the father can be dark and the mother can be white, or both parents can be mixed race, together having mixed race children. I was never able to ascertain what form it was because I never really saw mom. For some reason, God never really showed me mom. I would just see maybe her back when she was wearing fully clothed with a cardigan, and then her head was cut off, so I couldn't see, is this a black lady, white lady, mixed lady, or anything like that. But dad was black, and dad was pretty much around my area as well. And these people, it was not a dream that was set in America. In the end, God told me that this dream was set in Denmark. This dream is a dream of basically Danish people, which surprised me because I guess I didn't know that black people were native to Denmark, but then there you go. So it was a black family, and they lived in an area that you would say was a kind of cultural mix. Africans were living there, Caribbean people were living there, more bohemian white people that don't mind living in a mixed area were living there. But this was a nice and an upmarket, wealthy neighborhood. I have the prophecy in front of me, but basically this dream is so fresh in my mind that I don't really need to look at it except for occasionally guidance. Now, of everybody, this being a lovely, happy family, the baby girl was the most beautiful child. God showed me the baby from the time she was laying on the pillow. She was born with a huge head of hair, and as she grew, her hair lengthened out and was just so beautiful. Her hair lengthened out, but it still had that loose curl. This child was the kind of child that cannot take an ugly picture, and the blessing of the kind of soul that God put in this child's heart was that she was not a selfish child. She was not an overly disobedient child. You know, they all pout at some point and they all say they don't want their carrots. But this was truly the kind of bright star soul that when you get a baby like that in the family, everybody just naturally tends to dote on that one a little more. She wasn't spoiled. She wasn't selfish. Being the last born, she had all the opportunities to be those things. But baby girl was not those things. She was a lovely younger sister who adored her big sister and also loved her brothers and her parents very much. And so what I saw was that one Christmas, okay, I think baby girl would be a little bit around 6 or 7. One Christmas, I saw the family gathered as they tend to do in, I guess, their living room or dinner table, it could have been. And the father gave out these beautiful colored mittens to all his children. And that's how it came to me in the dream. Beautiful colored mittens were given to all the children. Now, most of us, we just call it winter gloves because who's here from 1802? But in certain jurisdictions, I guess in the United Kingdom, they might still call it mittens. And whatever time period it was, these were called mittens. So each child had their own color. And as as they were putting them on, I observed that this was top quality wool that these winter gloves or mittens were made from. The father had really gone all out. He had gone to a custom person. He'd had the gloves made for each child. And what the person did was so clever. If the person was making, for instance, the older boy got blue mittens, but what the person did was that she knitted them, and there would be a line of navy blue next to a line of lighter blue, like royal blue or sky blue, almost together. So she knitted them, each line a darker color and a lighter color together. And what you got when the winter gloves were done was this amazing kaleidoscopic effect that if you turned your hands, your gloves were dark blue or light blue, depending on how you did it, because she also ran what looked like a thin silver thread. For the girls, it was a thin gold thread between the gloves. These gloves were beautiful, beautiful, and each one came in a long box, almost the way you would get an expensive watch. Each pair of gloves or mittens came in a long box, custom with the person's name on it, and then when you opened it, she had a small tag in each glove to let you know whose name it was. And so I saw that each child got their own color, and that when they took them out, the wool and the workmanship was very beautiful to the eye. And for the girls, their mittens were laced with sparkles, and the boys had a thin thread of something shiny running through it, so that for all the children, the mittens almost glowed in the light of the house when they put them on. I saw that all these children were very thankful. Their father gave them other presents. Their parents gave them other presents, of course. So the mittens were not their only presents, but the mittens were the presents that the father gave at the end. So just imagine all your gifts, you've had them, you've opened them, dinner is over, everybody's like, ooh, and ah, and then you get these hand-decorated mittens. And so he would always take them out. He took out the gloves, and then he would do it like a game show, presenting, and starting from the oldest boy down to the baby girl, he gave them their mittens, and each child screamed with delight when they opened the box and saw their color and what they got, and they were so thankful. Started shadow boxing in them. Obviously, the boys and the girls they ran to the window to hold up their mittens to the fading light to see the different colors. The oldest boy got blue, the younger son got green, the oldest sister got gold, and the baby daughter, who looked to be about maybe 6 or 7 years old, she got a strangely deep russet maroon red shade that really, I thought it was a little too grown up for her. But then again, she seemed so happy with her mittens, and she said something like, Father, I love them, Father. And she jumped up and she ran to her dad around the table, and she gave him a kiss and a hug. And he kissed her back, he fluffed her hair, and then he said, oof, as all his children came running around the table to jump on him, and they were hugging him and kissing him with so much thanks for the gift that he'd given them for Christmas. And then the dream changed, and I saw this man sleeping with his baby. I saw this man hunching on his baby daughter. I mean, full on penetrative sex on his daughter while she held her two tiny hands to her mouth. And he had pulled up a burgundy red night dress. Okay, you know the kind of night dress. There's ruffles here. There's ruffles across the chest, hanging here. There's ruffles at the shoulder, ruffles here, ruffles at the side. One row of ruffles at the bottom, and then a panel, and then a longer row of ruffles. He had pulled all that up to about her chest area so that her upper body was exposed, and he was sleeping with his child who was not yet 9 years old. So if anybody had come in, he would have been able to quickly pull the nightgown down, lean next to her at the side, and act like he was reading her a story, and that is what he was doing. He was having sex on that child as if she was a grown woman consenting to whatever he was doing. I was so shocked and taken aback by the way the Lord changed that family panel to this horrific scene. Exactly the way you feel right now. The way I did it is the way it was done to me. And so I was so taken aback by what I was seeing that I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry out. Afterwards, that man got off her and he went to a halfway bathroom on their top floor where all the bedrooms were going off in different directions. There was a full-on bathroom in the hallway, and he stopped there and he washed off. Then he went to his bedroom and he climbed beside his wife, who was honestly fast asleep. He stroked his wife's hair for a bit, looking at her, and then he turned on his side and he went to sleep. Now, from that moment on, I became sick in the stream. I was now stuck in the stream as an observer. I was sick in the dream, wanting to come out, but I could not come out. I was stuck in the dream the way you are stuck in the cinema when you realize halfway through the movie who the killer is, but the people in the movie don't know. And so you have to sit there and watch him killing them one by one as if you are a silent witness to his dark secret that they haven't yet figured out. And so the picture rolled and would be about 13 years old for baby girl. And the children all came clamoring to the table because dad was there for his presents. Presents were given, and then the glove colors came out. Glove colors were different for everybody that year, except baby girl. Her older sister got silver gloves. Her brothers one of them got this really nice kind of bare brown that was shot through with yellow markings. And the other one got what was put in my heart as lightning black, in that his gloves were mostly black, but all through the knuckles and areas where he would move his hand, it had silver thread. And so he really looked really good in his gloves. And the boys, being older now, they loved these more mature colors of mittens. They got other presents, but as always, when the mittens came out, everybody was just saying, wow, Dad, wow, thank you. And this is how you know it had to be long ago, because there's no child on the surface of the earth that's getting excited over winter gloves. You give that to a child now, the look that they would give you of betrayal, like, woman, do you even know me? Sir, are you really my parent? But these children were excited about these mittens. Everybody was saying, thank you, it's what I wanted. But the baby daughter got burgundy red, russet red gloves, and her face fell so bad in disappointment to see her brothers and sisters getting different colors while hers remained the same. Yet she was a polite child, very angelic, although she was carrying a painful secret. And then the scene changed again to the father raping her in her bedroom, covering her mouth with his hand this time, while she was fully unclothed, wearing nothing, and he was wearing nothing too. The little girl was screaming under his hand, but the way that he had pressed his hand on her face, covering both nose and mouth, it showed me that this man didn't even care if this child choked or asphyxiated before he finished doing what he was doing. When he finished, he leaned to the side and he said something in her ear, like he always did. As she cried and cried and cried, he got up, dressed, and went over to the hallway bathroom to clean himself before going to the bedroom. I think this bathroom was the only bathroom on the floor that all the children would use and share, because whenever he would go into his bedroom, I would see a light on in the ensuite bathroom, meaning that he had his own bathroom, but he declined to use it because the running of the water would wake his wife. The pictures began to fly by more quickly. Some years, the father did not give the children mittens for Christmas. He gave them other gifts, and they were always happy to have them. But some years, he gave them mittens back to back to back, one year after another after another. Any year that was a mitten year, the father raped baby girl for some of that year, or most of that year. In a year that he didn't give them any gloves as presents, in a year where he skipped giving the gloves at Christmas, he didn't touch her at all, and he seemed to be totally focused on his wife as his correct sexual partner. Excuse me, please. As a result, when mitten years were coming back to back to back, or if he would skip a year or two, I saw that the youngest daughter hated Christmas with all the heat and the passion that she could muster in her growing body, while her siblings looked forward to it as a kind of mystery, because nobody ever knew, is this a year that Dad is going to give us mittens or not? And so the siblings would plot toward it, not because the gifts would be better in a mitten year and bad in a year without mittens, but it seems to be a little mysterious family saga where you couldn't tell if he was going to do it or not. And these were quality gloves that the children kept and protected very well. And so they were gathering up these things, marking them in their childhood. But to the baby sister, it seemed to her that her whole life was sitting in the balance of whether those expensive custom-made glove boxes were going to come out at the end of the Christmas dinner or not. If they did, she knew what that would mean for her. This girl was growing up in the house, still beautiful, so lovely a child, but she never told anybody, not her older sister and not her mom, and certainly not anyone else, what was happening to her, until I saw that baby girl at 21 years got up and ran away from the house. At 21 years old, God showed me that the years just before 21, 19, 20, and 21 were all mitten years, back to back to back. And so this child got a job, and she fled from her childhood home, and she never ever went back. I saw that her mom would call her, and they would talk, and she would be pleasant, and she would tell her mother what was going on in her life and where she had gone to. Apparently, she had gotten a good job, and she was diligent and faithful in her job. And so from what she would say to her mom, it seemed that she was going to other destinations, other places. But she never ever answered her mother when her mother said, "When will you come home, dear? We haven't seen you in a while. I miss you, my darling. We miss you, especially your father. You were always his favorite, and he wonders why you don't come home to see us anymore." So I don't know what the girl would answer her mom when her mother would say that. I just know that I never ever saw her go back to the house. Then I slept, and I had another dream. I saw a young woman at the mall with her older sister. The two women were looking very beautiful now. They had grown up, but the younger one was still the most dazzling of all her siblings. This is a second dream that I had. She said to her sister, "I'm so glad for us to have some time to ourselves. It's been so long. I've missed you so much." They were at a bowling alley, it seemed like. They smiled and they hugged for a while, the younger one doing more of the talking, telling her sister about the life that she had lived when she left their childhood city. She said, "I've had time to travel and see the world. I even met someone and we're dating. I'm not that serious in it, but he is. He's totally given his heart to me, and because of him and how he loves me, I think I could settle down." And her big sister smiled with excitement, asking for more details. And she sat and she let baby girl tell her all her stories. And I was looking at true sisterhood. I saw how the older sister laughed at her jokes and how she described the people that she met as she had traveled in life. She heard all about her younger sister's work and the decisions that she'd made in life since she left home. The younger one was 28 years old at that time in the dream, about to turn 29. And the older sister was 32. The younger sister had a habit of looking at her big sister like the sun was shining on her big sister. And God was showing me that these women really loved each other. And I felt so blessed to be looking at people who truly love one another in their family. However, something was bothering me in this dream. Something kept coming up in my mind, but I couldn't remember it. I also saw something in the younger woman's face now and then as she was speaking to her sister. Something like a cloud or a shadow would pass over her face. It is almost as if when you're having a conversation and the conversation comes to a peaceful rest, like a little rest area, a pause where if you had a secret, if you had something that you wanted to tell someone else, that would be the perfect time to start with. You know, there's something I've always wanted to tell you. But every time they came to a comfortable silence, the younger sister didn't say anything. She paused like she wanted to, but then she would decide something internally and she would take a new angle of discussion and she would say something else. I also felt that there was something that she should say, but I couldn't exactly remember what exactly she should say. Every every time I turned to try and grab that thought of what she should say, it ran away from me. I literally saw it running like a person off into the darkness, like something that didn't want for me to see it. So instead, I just watched the dream and looked at the two ladies chatting until the older one said suddenly, oh no, they're expecting us back for dinner. We have to hurry. Mom will be so mad if we miss everybody else arriving and they end up having to wait for us. And so they both held hands and they ran outside. A 32-year-old and a 28, almost 29-year-old, for baby girl's birthday would always come shortly after the Christmas period. They ran outside and they caught a cab and they made it back to the house just as older brother, confident older brother, who was now 33 years old, the first boy, was entering the house. Everybody else gathered in the living room, talking at a mile per minute, laughing so long and loud that honestly, you could tell that they hadn't seen each other in a while. Everybody was so happy to see everybody else talking at the same time, trying to get all the details at the same time, that Mom kept saying, shh, calm down before the neighbors complain, but honestly, nobody was listening to her. Everybody was so excited to be back together again, so much so that younger sister, who was not usually the loudest one, was talking even more than younger brother, who had always been a troublemaker and a firecracker. Finally, the scene switched and dinner was over, and the dad slipped all his children various sums of money according to their ages in beautiful decorated envelopes. There's no presents now. These are adults. And dad doesn't know what they like or what they want anymore. Mom got up and went to get the dessert, always off camera. I could hear her voice, but I couldn't see her. And that's when something happened in this dream. I was suddenly sitting at the table with these people, all of them strange to me. I don't know them. Why am I here instead of in my apartment? Why am I with these people that are more or less the same color as me, but this is not my family? Why am I with these people having dinner with them when I am not a part of them? And then Dad reached under the table and he brought out 4 boxes, each one custom made, with everybody's name on them. And everybody started banging the table and clapping, even me. I knew it! I knew it! My older brother said. The oldest brother said. I knew it! He looked triumphantly at each and every one of us. And he said, I told you that Dad wouldn't see us coming home after so long and not have something special for us to remember this year by. He looked so triumphant, as was his way. Older brother, who always knew what to do. He was so happy, and he kept saying, I knew it. I knew this year that Dad would do it. And Dad was also smiling very happily at all of us, handing out the boxes to each person, smiling at each child, especially me. And I smiled back at him, even though there was an urgent thought in my brain telling me not to take the present. Don't take the box. This thought said, do not take the present. This is where you draw the line. This is where you tell them everything, Magdalene. So my name then was Magdalene. This is where you draw the line. Do not take the box. This is the moment where you say no and you tell your mother everything. But I didn't know what that thought was for. So I reached over and I took my box with extreme gratefulness and delight. The gloves were amazing this year. Tiny gold stars embedded deep into blood red lamb's wool, highest quality. So soft and expensive as I rubbed them. Chic, slimline, with my name in a little label on the inside of each of them. My sister got cream-colored gloves with a black line stenciled across the wrists, and my brothers, deep gray for one and forest green for the other. They both loved them. I loved mine too. I thanked my parents for everything, and I sat and I had a great time eating dinner with my family. That night, I slept in my room with the door locked, even though I did not know why. I slept peacefully. The next night, I slept in my room with the door locked and something firmly wedged under the door because it had been moving a little bit the night before, like someone wanted to get in. But I do not know why I made my room like a fortress. I slept peacefully. So if you're wondering, the way that God did this thing was, when I woke up, I figured it out. He put me in the girl's body, but then he took the girl and her brains away. The girl is the one who had all the experiences. Baby girl Magdalene. Magdalene is the one who had all the memories. But God took away Magdalene, and he took away her mind that knew everything, and he put me in her body, but then he took away my mind that had been watching the first dream and knew everything that was happening to her. And so I was put in her body in that horrible, vulnerable position without the benefit of her memories or the benefit of my understanding of what was happening to her. So when I got into her body without her brains or my brains, I didn't remember anything that I had seen of that poor, destroyed little girl's father and what he had done to her across all the years of her living under his roof. I was in her body like a brand new individual without the benefit of her terrible experiences to warn me, or without the benefit of my dream knowledge that I had seen to warn me. I was like a new person living with a family that I didn't know. But the muscle memory from the past in Magdalene's body knew the house and the man, and that body was doing what it had to do. So Magdalene locked the door, and Magdalene put something like a shoe heel. You know, a shoe heel is shaped exactly like the way my hand is. It's shaped like a small triangle. And when you stick it under the door, if someone tries to push the door, it only gets harder and harder to open the door. On about the third or the fourth day of me staying at my parents' for the holiday, I came downstairs from a nap. I freshened myself up and I thought to myself, why not go into the city to have some high tea and maybe even do a bit of sightseeing? That was the very moment that my dream father came back to the house. He was coming from out, and he didn't think that anyone was home. He thought we had all gone out with mom or on various errands by ourselves. He didn't know that I had fallen asleep and I had been in the house alone for a while. When I came down the stairs into the narrow hallway, my father had just come in and shut and locked the door, and also entered into the narrow hallway. I said hello to him. Hello, Father. And I was tugging on my red gloves when this man spoke to me with a completely different voice than he had ever been speaking to us in the house. He spoke to me with another voice that caused all the brains to come crashing back into my body. Magdalene's brain and Magdalene's experiences came crashing back into Magdalene's body at the same time as Celestial's brain that had seen the first dream and understood everything that happened to her came crashing back into my body. And the mind that I had had when I saw this first dream of this man methodically and utterly destroying by unwanted, forced, full sexual contact. There's abuse that's not full sexual contact. They touch, they rub, they make a person look at porn with them. They say all kinds of inappropriate things to that person. And then there's full sexual contact, where a man sleeps with a child, a girl or a boy, as if they are a fully consenting adult. The knowledge that this man had been having unwanted, forced, full sexual contact with his own flesh and blood daughter year by year, all of that came crashing back into my head. And I stared at those red gloves on my hands as if I was staring at two dead bodies that I had willingly put on my own hands. I actually lifted up my hands, turning them back and forth and looking at them. And then I looked at him with total shock and total realization. And it was at that exact moment that this man's nice fatherly manner changed. His voice changed. His whole behavior changed. And he talked to me the way men talk to prostitutes that they know they're going to kill. Men go to prostitutes to buy sex, but there's a kind of whorehouse where it's an extra high cost if you end up killing the prostitute, but they're not going to stop you killing the prostitute, and they're not going to stop you coming back unless you kill one of the very, very popular girls, the ones that bring in the most money, the ones that are most exotic, the ones that have the most skills. Whether it's human trafficking or whether it's a willing whorehouse, if you go to those places and kill the high-earning girls, they can actually send their mafia goons after you to kill you too. They can chop off your hand land for costing them money that they know will be very hard to replace, or the fine that they will give you can bankrupt you, and if you don't pay it, they'll send the mafia goons after you to kill you. The way this man spoke to me in that girl's body is the voice of a man who knows that he can kill the prostitute and he can just pay the extra that they're going to add to his tab. And this is what this man said to his own child. You didn't obey the signal. Are you going to let me sleep with you or what? Except that the word he used was not sleep with you. It was the F word that he used to his daughter. And when he said that, his face had this mocking and disdainful look, like when your ex, who goes around telling everybody how trash you are and that he hates you and he wasted his time with you, is still coming after you to ask you to come back. Schizophrenic. I screamed and I lunged out of that narrow hallway through the only door that was next to me, which was a door into a little parlor that we had. Some people call it the sunroom because the way that it's positioned in these countries, it's positioned to catch all the best light, and that room stays sunny and lovely even well into winter, which is why the family loves to sit there, read books, listen to their music and things like that. I lunged into that small parlor that we had on the ground floor, but that man, my so-called father, had anticipated that, and as I lunged, he leapt sideways as I leapt sideways, and I ended up caught full body in his massive arms. He caught me full body, my whole self trapped by a huge man that was bigger than me. And that man started mock dancing with me around the parlor, holding me with my arms stuck to my body like this, whirling around the parlor with me, saying again and again, "You've been away so long, my darling. Where were you? Did you forget me? Did you forget your dear father? What were you doing? Were you with other men? Have you been laying with other men? You didn't obey the signal. You locked your door, my dear. You didn't obey the signal." And I'm going to put my notes aside here because I will continue the rest of the dream from memory. I only had it less than 24 hours ago. As this man was moving me around the parlor, I was fighting, and I was fighting for my life. The parlor had 2 sets of windows. 2 of the sets were facing inside the yard that we had, the house that we had. This house, by the miracle of God, was on the corner. And if you've ever had a corner house, you know that the only way to protect your house from the literal street where people might see you as they walk by is to build yourself a tall fence. But the thing with the parlor is that they built the fence whereby on one side there was a gap between the house, but on the other side it was against the municipal law to have the fence there. And so 2 sets of the parlor, one faced the wall. If you looked out of the window, you would see our tall and protective wall. If you looked out the front, you would see the basic main high street, but there was a shutter that was always kept down for privacy. But towards the back, because the city wants you to keep your building flush with the street, that window faced into the actual street. So as he was dancing with me and mocking me, these windows were very strange windows I've never seen before. The windows had a key that you had to turn twice. A literal key hanging there, a small key. You had to turn it and turn it again, and then the window just spring-loaded itself and went up. When he was dancing and being crazy with me, my hand turned the one that faced into the wall, and the window went up. And when he heard the window go up, his rage magnified, and in a reflex, he wrenched me, but I came out of his grip. He meant to wrench me away from the window, but I came out of his grip. And by the grace of God, I came upon the window that led to the street. I hit it, but at the same time, I turned the key twice. I stuck my head out of the window, so I'm basically backwards through the window with my head out. People, I tried to scream. Let me tell you that women who have been molested in this way, women who have suffered in this way, you really should not open your mouth to women and men as well who have gone through this thing. I never knew that it is possible to lose your voice, to lose every piece of saliva in your mouth, and to also have your tongue form something like mud. I never knew that it was possible. My profession, I've been speaking all my life. My natural ability that God has given me, I've been speaking and expressing myself all my life. I never knew that it was possible for your voice to finish when you haven't been using and abusing it in public speaking and talking and everything. I didn't know that. The second thing I didn't know is that it is possible for all your saliva to be driven away by biological processes where your body thinks she's about to die. She doesn't need to spit. Anyway, I also didn't know that it is possible for your own tongue to magnify itself until it literally becomes like a rod in your throat and in your mouth, and it becomes like mud. Mud is very choking. That's why we don't breathe it. Mud is not for breathing. Mud is known to be thick and cloying. My spit disappeared. My voice disappeared. And I could not make a sound. My tongue was basically like mud from my mouth area all the way down into my chest. There was a guy walking outside along the street. Everything was like slow motion. He's a tall, strong black guy. He was dressed so smartly. He had one of these things that they call a bowler hat in gray with a black band. He had a sharp gray suit on with a very expensive gray wool coat. He was walking with extremely shiny shoes. It seemed like it took 10 years for him to cross that street in which my head was stuck out backwards as I was trying to scream, "Help! Help me," and call the police. I screamed those things so many times, and the sound I made was, "Call police." I felt these things in my actual sleeping body. I thought that was it for me today. I thought I'm going where so many millions of women have gone. Because I'm stuck in this dream, I can't get out. I don't know where God is. And this man, seeing that I could not move, I could not talk, many times he had probably observed Magdalene like that, unable to speak while he was violating and destroying her very soul, crushing her in spirit, this monster. He wasn't even trying to pull me out of the window. He was humping on me while I was in the back in the window saying to me, "Oh, my dear Magdalene, it's been so long." I was trying with everything in me, and I thought to myself, this is it for me, because this girl is not even here in this body. This is me. And then the dream, the force, the pressure, the man, the alley, my head, that window, the guy disappeared, and I was screaming with actual full voice. I woke up this morning screaming, actual screaming. I know my neighbors heard it. "Police, police, call the police, call the police." I was screaming for my life, sitting bolt upright in bed, giving it the whole 10 tonnage that my lungs are capable of. It was a couple of seconds before I stopped screaming, "Police, police, call the police. Call the police. Call the police."
You have to always pay attention and discern what you're looking at, discern what you're dealing with, especially now more than ever. Living in the last days, there's a lot of crazy things going around. So you must pay attention, discern, guide your footsteps, get your house in order. Make sure your spirit is right. But hey, everyone has their own thought and opinion. Make sure you drop down in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this video. See y'all next time.